stating you're a human, you live on Earth. If you lived on Mars, I don't know how they would deal with it. But they'll issue you a world citizen passport and documents here for the regular issuing fees. And bear in mind, in some places, passports cost thousands of dollars because they're control mechanisms. You try and get a passport in Africa, less than $1,000, and you're getting a bargain. And some of the Arab countries, they want $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for passports, and they've got thousands of dollars in non-refundable fees, and mostly they turn people down because they want to control everything. So this is not that kind of a world government. This is an alternative to the New World Order, which would be that kind of a government. If we allow them to implement the world government, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the new fucking world order run by Papa Bush, and it'll be pedophiles run rampant, and the organizations of the government will be used by the pedophiles to feed their gross needs. As we see happening in England all the time. It's just marginally surreptitious now. They just barely hide it with Jimmy Savile and Prince butt-fucking Charles and all of his buddies in the royals are, they're no different than Bush and all of these guys. Now, over here in the United States, they got to be a little bit more hidden about it because occasionally people rise up and, football coaches and other pedophiles are forced to resign and kill themselves and stuff. But it never goes to the politicians. It never goes that high. That's going to change. But how is it going to change? Well, the way it's got to change is a extra larger than national authority. What is larger than the nation state? Well, the planet. Who runs the planet? All us humans. And that's basically where we're at. If you want to run the planet with all the rest of us humans, hop on board. One way or another. I'm not saying world government from world citizens is the only operation. You can create another one, and maybe it'll be superseding this one. But we need to do something. And there is no national authority that will do anything beyond its own borders because of the very definition of the nation state. It can't. And we don't have a situation where we actually have a moral religious structure on the planet in any way, shape, or form that would be able to impose behavior restrictions on these bastards. So at some point we have to do it ourselves. Now I'm thinking that, well, we might be able to get enough people whipped up over the course of the next few months to make an impact before the catastrophe. That kind of an impact could be that we'll start actually shifting government, but that's not really my goal. My goal is to get people thinking about how they wish to be and what kind of a world they wish to be in after our upcoming global coastal event, and to do those things now that get their mindsets ready. One of them is to establish themselves as a world citizen, to break down the nation-state barriers, which won't exist after the global catastrophe. There will be people right up here in the nation-state north of me, Canada, that will be needing help, just like the people in the nation-state of Oregon, south of me, are going to be needing help. And the artificial borders between these states are not going to stop us from helping each other. At that point, it's a different world. Now, right at the moment, let's argue the other side of the world citizen approach, at least in here in the United States, real quickly. And that is the idea of a de jure, by law, stated by law. First off, slight deviation. Religious bastards, big pharma bastards, medical bastards, and lawyer bastards will always use Latin to confuse you. At no time do you have to take that bullshit. If someone uses Latin terms, make them define them to you. It is not is a sign of ignorance, but ignorance is not a crime. Ignorance is easily correctable. If someone says amica curiae to you and you don't know what it means, tell them, define that term. If you're not speaking my language, you're attempting to confuse me and control me, fuck you. You got to be serious about it. You don't have to be brutal as I am. You can be polite and firm. I actually have been able to manage that a few times. But in any event, but you need to be insistent. There's no reason that you have to be controlled by others' use of foreign terms in their language. Insist that they speak your language, or address it right then and there. Don't let it continue, because it's an attempt to control you. So we have a situation here where we've got the end of the world coming. We can correct our mindset. By the end of the world, I mean the end of the nation-state world, and the imposition of very large government on everybody all over the fucking planet, especially with predators and all of the other nasties they've got going. Now, the mindset for us is going to be, when we come out of this, is going to be survival, and it'll be immediate. But at some point, and I think earlier than the catastrophe, we really need to think about what kind of a world do we want after the immediacy of survival is taken care of. So, not June of next year, but December of next year and June of 2014. We're going to be getting into deeper and deeper in shit. There won't be government around. We need to set up some kind of an understanding amongst us. We can start solving the problems now that we know we will encounter then. We can solve these problems now by creating a basis for us to deal with each other as competent citizens and stewards of our planet after the government's out of the way. And so I think that basis is common law. One way to introduce this concept is to start irritating the powers that be now by suggesting that people join the world government of world citizens, because it really annoys the crap out of the elite, if for no other reason. If you never do anything with it, just that extra single person jumping on this particular bandwagon is going to irritate the fuck out of somebody in the power elite, just because they don't want anybody doing this. And it's, I admit it's a small little bit of revenge, but every little bit helps. So, we've got that business, okay? I think that's really about it. Now, I'm going to try and set up some interviews here where I'll be interviewing other people, as well as being interviewed by other people to discuss the subject. Some of the other people that I'm going to be interviewing are really hot on the de jure citizen approach. That's where you declare yourself, sorry about that, didn't mean to get distracted here. That's where you declare yourself to be in the United States. You declare yourself to be a citizen of the local republic, the state in which you live. So I'm a citizen of the Republic of the State of Washington. And I can be a de jure citizen of the Republic of the State of Washington by going through certain hoops, documents again, and telling the local nation state that I am not accepting the federal, the United States, but in fact I live in one of the states that is united with the others. And that I am only affected by those laws that are within that republic. But still, you are basically within a nation state. You've just ceded yourself to a smaller, pledged your political alliance to a smaller nation state. You've thwarted to some extent the federal republics or the federal nation states' ability to come on in and fuck with you, but you haven't eliminated it, because you're now subjecting yourself willingly to the laws and so on of the local nation state. Now, within the world government for world citizens, you have no need to, unswear allegiance to the United States or anything like that. You don't have to renounce any damn thing. But you're not also involved with a nation state and its laws. So if, for instance, I was being persecuted unjustly by the Republic of the State of Washington, as a world citizen, I can invoke common law to protect myself from some of their document-based persecution and pursue it that way. I have to do it correctly. I have to be an upstanding world citizen. I have to be a competent steward of the of my own affairs and proceed accordingly. But it is doable, and it is because the world citizen common law supersedes the nation state. And you have to understand, as Thomas Paine gets into repeatedly, the idea that there is a contract between the governed and those who govern, between government and the citizens, is kind of bogus, because that is not really the case. Thomas Paine was at great points, took great effort to point out to us that first comes the citizen. Government doesn't exist ahead of the citizens. It is an abstraction that is basically built off of the agreement between citizens that they shall mutually govern themselves. So all power at all points in the power pyramid derives from this supposed contract between government and the governed, which does not exist. The contract is between individuals governing themselves at its lowest possible level. Everything else is an abstraction and an attempt to seize power from those individuals, and has been used effectively for generations, I might add. But now we're at the point where common law can reassert itself, and it has been doing so through the world government for world citizen. of world citizens. If you read Gary's travails and travels, you'll see what he's been able to accomplish. And now what we need is about 4 to 5 or 6 million more Garys to go on out and insist on our rights as world citizens to impose limitations on the bad behavior of the nation states. It is this reason that the whole flaw of the nation states concept and the inability of nation states to ever govern themselves because there's no greater authority and no extra legal authority beyond their own within their own borders, and thus they have no fallback or legal basis document-wise to take any other behavior than what is prescribed by the people within their borders, and that's why we're at this terrible state now. That's why I don't want to join the de jure movement and declare myself a de jure citizen of the Republic of the State of Washington. First off, State of Washington, it's a small little republic, and it's going to be subjected to the whims of the larger republic, and I'll have to continually fight that. Rather, I would approach this as saying that I live by common law, I'm a competent world citizen, I don't fuck others over, and I won't be fucked by others. So I'm going to stand up for my rights as a world citizen. And if the nation state has to fall and has to crumble to the force of common law and the other world citizens, so be it. It's outlived its usefulness anyway. We don't need it anymore. And there's many different ways we can do everything the nation state does and do it much better and save ourselves all kinds of problems and eliminate the hold of the pedophilic pope, and the other royals and all of these problems. The corruption at the top comes from the nation state being taken to its extreme. If we remove the nation state, their whole power base disappears. And so that's what I've done. I've removed the nation state from my life by declaring myself to be a member of the world government and a world citizen. Now, there's some really cool parts of this that we have to really consider. I had this Russian woman once, gorgeous Russian woman, as many of them are, asked me, "Are you a serious man?" And of course she said it in a nice accent, that just this melts you right away. But she wanted to know if I was a serious fellow, or was there was some Russian word for it, which I could not even pronounce, let alone remember at this point, that basically describes a dilettante, somebody who is not serious and the planet is not serious.